The following program is sponsored by The Greek, Ely's Radio Shack dealer at 570 Altman in downtown Ely, and brought to you as a public service by Georgetown Media in Ely, Nevada. White Pine County Commission and Special Board of Health meeting, August 12th, 2020.
Everybody ready? Good morning and welcome to the Wednesday, August 12th regular scheduled meeting of the White Pine County Commission. And Ian, why don't you lead the pledge today?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A couple of announcements just before we get started. We are on a very heavy agenda today, so those on the phone and those that have timed items, we're going to request that you try to stay within your time frame, be it public comment or a 15-minute time frame. We have a very large agenda today, and we'll appreciate you guys' help. However, we're not going to cut anybody off of their presentations at all. That's not going to happen. And bear with me when I'm speaking. I'll have my mask down below my mouth because I muffle the sound. When I'm in the meeting, I will adhere to the rules, and that's what that will be. So anyway, there may be a few movements on the agenda as we go forward, but we'll try to stick to it as closely as we possibly can. That being said, we're going to open today's meeting with a moment of silence. So for prayer and meditation, that's our norm, so take the first moment for that. Okay, we're going to open today's meeting with public comment. Is there anyone on the phone with public comment? Mike? You see anybody on the phone that has public comment? Okay, we'll check in the hall and please, we'll do the, just a second. We'll go to the audience and then we'll come back to the phone and everything on there. So anybody in the audience with public comment, please come forward.
Morning, Mr. Chairman and Board. It's my pleasure this morning to introduce to you our new CEO for Silverline Farm, Mr. Bob Curlico. And he is from the Orange County area, and we're delighted that he is here, literally first minute on the ground in Ely. So, Commissioner Ian Bullis, Travis Godon. Travis is our Vice Chairman, Richard is our Chairman, Richard Howe, Lori Carson, Shane Whitey.
Good morning. Good morning.
Commissioner Kurt Susan and Kurt Nicole Welcome.
Good morning.
So,
Thank you for having me. I literally have not even been to the farm yet. That'll be this afternoon, but very much looking forward to partnering with you moving forward. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Welcome.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
We'll be back more for more updates. We are really, really busy at the farm right now and things are going well, so.
Yeah, I met with Rob and I said if we could put it on the agenda we would, but he didn't know your schedule, but thank you for being here. And we'll welcome you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Public comment. Anyone in the building with public comment? Anyone? George? Excuse me, before we do that, Nicole, would you read the letter that we have from public comment
Yes,
first?
Chairman, I have a letter to read. submitted to me via fax yesterday. Honorable Commission Chairman Richard Howe, Commission Vice Chair Travis Godon, Commissioner Shane Bybee, Commissioner Ian Bullis, Commissioner Roy Carson. This Monday morning, the 10th of August 2020, in small claims docket case 20 SC00247K regarding petty larceny of current KOA campground manager Nefra Northam, held at 9:30 in Justice of the Peace S.J. Bishop's Ely Justice Court, was both disappointing and discouraging in his reckless failure to fulfill any hope that the Township of Ely has, in fact, a just court of justice. Today, elected official Bishop made a mockery of the court, validating even more the plight of the broken judicial system. Before the proceedings began, Justice of the Peace Bishop clearly indicated prejudice in this case, stating he had conducted business with the defendant, establishing a satisfactory relationship because only the judge and defendant in this case know the extent of their relationship. The judge should have automatically recused himself from the case instead of asking my opinion, as the sanctity of the courtroom is the inappropriate place to be making that determination. Thus, Judge Bishop indicates a flagrant disregard for the rules, ethics, and procedures of court hearings and should be investigated for his impropriety and total disregard and abandon of making moral decisions. I have no respect for the defendant stealing cash from me, showing no remorse by not admitting fault, using any means and measures to cover her criminal misconduct, shifting the blame, a common tactic used by criminals to divert attention away from themselves onto targets they commit crimes against. I have even less respect for this person of questionable character, inappropriately misrepresenting the Ely Justice Court. Judge Bishop demonstrates a deceptive, underhanded unfairness, bias, and prejudice in his decisions. He should not be acting alone in the decision-making process. Instead, there should be a tribunal of judges serving as a system of checks and balances overseeing court proceedings in a fair, unbiased, and prejudiced manner, instead of the autocratic system that currently exists. Because Judge Bishop does not represent strength or character and lacks integrity, it is being requested that Justice of the Peace Bishop be removed from court proceedings and investigated for criminal misconduct. Thank you for considering my request. I am, with all due respect, sincerely, Susan Mish of Colorado. Boulder City, Nevada, sorry.
Okay. Any other public comment inside the building? George, you got public comment?
Just a little.
Okay, 3 minutes.
We're on brief time now.
Gotcha.
Mr. Chairman, the August 5th, 2020 meeting, I reported to you the Regional Planning Commission meeting held on July 15, 2020, approved a separation of 1 acre from a 3.8 acre parcel. I wanted to protest that. You didn't put me on the agenda. I need that directed.
We don't set the agenda.
Pardon me?
We don't set the agenda for the RPC.
No. It has to come back to you.
That's your deal. Go ahead.
I'm appealing their decision.
Go ahead.
You better read the regulations, sir. Mr. Chairman, on your agenda, item 2B, 1A, you're to consider authorizing the county assessor to purchase APN 004-171-08, 004-171-21, 004-171-22 for delinquent taxes. I, as a taxpayer, am completely opposed to this. The county has no business competing against the private sector. First, you sell appraised land valued at $45,000 for $4,000. Next, you refuse to give equal consideration on average of $400 for the balance of unsold lots that were advertised, and you, and you receive no other offers. Next, you sell 13 lots for $100. At what point does this commission stop insulting the citizen and the taxpayer? If and only if those lots do not sell at tax sale, should the county purchase them. Quit taking property off the tax rolls. You shouldn't do that at all. I think that's unethical. Mr. Chairman, on your agenda, item 2C, 6P, you're to consider a payment to Sunrise Engineering to prepare the Heritage Park conceptual plan for Snittlin Money's round 18 grant application. Where's the proposed location of the Heritage Park? If it is next to the Love's truck stop, we need to scrap their proposal for a new location. National studies have cautioned that you do not build a school near a truck stop, let alone a park. Do not take private commercial property off the tax rolls. I'm gonna surprise you guys. Mr. Chairman, state health mandates that masks must be worn with social distancing when not in public or in public meetings. Commissioner Bullis continues to violate those rules and regulations. He took an oath. This has been 6 or 7 meetings. He's the only person in this room without a mask. You have an obligation to correct that situation, and so does law enforcement. Recently, the Elko Free Press, dated August 10th, 2020, it is at the top of the list for non-compliance. What kind of message does that send? You may be in jeopardy of losing your COVID monies, all because of a few people that don't like the laws. Fine, I understand that, but when you're in a position of authority, you have no choice. Either you obey the law or you take a hike.
That's your 3 minutes, George, thank you very much.
I'll be back.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else in the building for,
Can I talk to my brother? I got one more item.
no.
I'm gonna tell him.
Yeah, okay. Anyone else in the building with public comment? Anyone on the phone?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, go ahead, say your name.
this is Wyatt Cox out of KELY Radio. As George mentioned, the press release came out August 10th from the state, stating that Ely did have only 8 of the 15 businesses that OSHA visited comply with the governor's mandates. It is important that we as a community stand up to this. These fines already, 3 people, 3 businesses fined in Las Vegas, $8,000. Every one of us knows that an $8,000 fine in any business in Ely would send out of business. We cannot afford to lose a single business. We have been counting and we have been mentioning, particularly following the situation that occurred at the Hotel Nevada, where they may be facing a fine from gaming. We need to do something about this. Each and every member of the community, including each and every member of the county commission, whether or not you agree or do not agree with masks, needs to wear a mask. Not just, and I realize that whatever your position is on masks, we cannot afford to lose a business because the governor can pull state business licenses and fine Northern Nevada out of business, which is his desire in the first place, but we won't get into that now. We just need to be more responsible. We are doing our part out here at the radio station, and we strongly encourage the county commission to take a stronger stand on these measures. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you, Wyatt.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
George, is that letter submitted by your brother for public comment? The letter?
He was doing it on my behalf.
Well, if you want to.
I'll just write it, send it in.
All right, thank you.
Not that I'm angry or anything like that.
All right.
okay, is there anybody else on the phone who wants to speak in public comment? You're free to do so. I think, Wyatt, I think you might still be on. You need to,
I'm muted.
okay, well, I can hear you, so you're not muted, so please mute. Okay.
Good morning, Honorable Chairman. This is George Robinson. I represent Energix LLC. I don't know the proper procedure in terms of comment on a proposed ordinance. Would you like me to comment on the proposed ordinance now or after the ordinance is proposed?
Let me ask the district attorney, what do you think, Mike? Should we do it during the regular timed item or now?
We can do it during the time item.
The advice is to do it during the timed item. You have an agenda item on there. I think it's 11 o'clock. Is that right?
It's actually not timed, it's just at the end of the agenda.
It's what?
It's at the end of the agenda, so.
I think he's talking on page 10,
Okay.
first reading of ordinance.
First reading, yeah.
514.
So it'll be, Mike, should we do that now? Can we do that now? He's on the phone and this is the very last item on the agenda.
Yeah, well, once you start the meeting, you can take that item, sure, certainly.
Yeah, we're still in public comment, but to oblige you, when we come out of public comment, I will go back to the item on page 10, open it up, and you'll be allowed to speak at that time. How's that?
Thank you so much, Chairman.
Okay, so we're still in public comment. Is there anybody else out there on the phone or in the building that would like to speak? You're free to do so. I'll ask one more time for public comment. Hearing none, any on the phone, Mike? And seeing none, we're gonna move forward. At this time, we're gonna open a regular scheduled meeting, and as I just agreed to, we're going to go to page 10. It's, where we at? All right, page 10, item B. It's the first reading of a proposed ordinance 514. Number 1 is discussion, first reading.
Hand it out.
What's that?
Separately, Mike. Sorry, I was talking about. It's attached now.
It's what now?
It's attached in your packet.
Okay.
Oh, it's right here.
Okay, let me go back through this and start again. This is the first reading of proposed ordinance number 514. Item 1 is discussion, first reading of proposed ordinance 514, bill number 08.12.2020. An ordinance regulating the use of certain heavy equipment on county roads, requiring a road maintenance agreement with the county prior to operation of certain heavy equipment on county roads, imposing criminal and civil penalties for failure to comply with this ordinance, adding a severability clause. Okay, can I allow him to speak now, Mike, or should the commission address this first?
No, you can ignore.
Well, go ahead, sir, go ahead and, we've opened that up for your comment on this first reading.
Yes, good morning, Chairman, and the other honorable members of the board. I represent Energex LLC, who is a subcontractor that was hired by Western Oil and Gas in regard to providing equipment and materials to an oil and gas rig in White Pine County. I received a road and maintenance agreement from the district attorney. I guess it was agreed to by Western Oil, but Energex had no say in terms of the negotiation of this agreement. We had no authorized representative at that meeting. I wrote a letter to the DA, of which I attempted to speak with him, but I was unable to do so. The agreement states that we would be responsible for any damage to any White Pine County road, which seems very overbroad to me. The agreement also asks for a $3.5 million irrevocable security bond to be posted by the parties to the agreement. In terms of damage to the roads, I don't really understand how that would be calculated since the roads are being used by presumably cars, semi-trucks, and other vehicles. So we were just looking for some kind of clarification as to exactly what we would be responsible for. And the road and repair maintenance agreement proposed by the county singled us out as really the only subcontractor to the agreement. There are other subcontractors that are working at that site, including Halliburton and other local subcontractors. And so, like I say, honorable board members, we felt like we were being singled out, and thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. This is the first reading, and I'll ask the DA to respond.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So what's really interesting about this ordinance is, as you can see, if you look at your copy, the blue sections are what's being proposed to clarify and add to the ordinance that's already in existence. The black letter, right, the black letter law right there, is what ordinance we already have in place. section 7.08.020 was already in place prior to a single tire tread being laid down that road for the purposes of Western Oil's project. It says all maintenance, repairs, or improvements necessitated by more than occasional use of roads by heavy equipment shall be provided by the user thereof. Not just Western Oil. And no heavy usage shall be allowed without prior satisfactory arrangements, first having been made with the Board of County Commissioners of White Pine County, Nevada. Okay. This is in addition to the other ordinance we have about projects that cause unsatisfactory environmental impact having received permission from the county commission. So in looking at, I was talking with Mr. Bybee as the liaison of the road department. We discussed beefing up our ordinances we already have in the books to make it better for oil and gas exploration, mining, to know what their obligations are, what the process is, and kind of clarifying some of this stuff. I mean, that's pretty clear, but if you look at the blue language that's been added, that's going to talk a little bit more about the steps that need to be taken. Okay, this kind of lines it out. So I appreciate
copy like or just that red.
Yeah. So I appreciate Brian Powell's work on this. Yeah, there's this red, but
Oh, okay.
yeah. So this is. I want to stay on topic just about this ordinance right now. We can talk about the road agreement and NJEX's responsibility or position not to sign on to this agreement. They certainly don't have to. And we'll talk about that later at that item. But for now, for this ordinance, this is to help both the Board of County Commissioners, the road department, business entities who want to conduct exploration or mining or other use of heavy equipment on these right-of-ways that we have. Because Jared Bybee said it best, who's responsible in the end of the day for that road? We are. So we need to know what's gonna happen out there. According to the lease, according to the deed for the right-of-way, it says the White Pine County. Now, there are some other defenses, some other issues with notice on this particular project, but Beyond's position is that we're responsible. And so we need to do more to educate us and have the opportunity to make those kind of decisions from this position, let the public know what's happening, because taxpayer money is gonna be impacted. Ms. Carson?
Yes, I didn't see anything in here, and I don't know if it's appropriate to put it into this, but one of the requirements that when we do have special, issues that, well, special circumstances that involve the heavy use of the roads that this pertains to, the one thing that is required is a special use permit. And on that special use permit is sometimes where the conditions are set down, are set into place.
So in
I
7.08020, the amendment, or the addition, subsection B, it talks about receive the permission of the county, part of the operation use of this county road. This is, if we require every time someone wants to use a piece of heavy machinery to come and actually get a special use permit from the county commission, that's fine. And you certainly have the power to do that by the Nevada Revised Statute. This allows your authorized road superintendent to also make those approvals in the absence or without the county commission having a whole meeting on it. But if the board desires to have a special use permit language and come before the county commission for the use of heavy equipment, that certainly can be added in here.
Well, where we had the online, the SWIFT, as far as the SWIFT corridor within the energy, when they came in, it was beneficial that they went through that process. And we agreed to, as we move forward, there's more construction that NV Energy is going to be doing. And like I say, for particulars, I mean, I hear you, I agree so far as, but how are they going to know?
Well, the other ordinance almost puts into place that special use permit anyway.
Okay,
So, for example, this project, for example, I mean, that ordinance was passed, the other ordinance I'm talking about was passed back in January, I believe. It was effective in January. It required a special use permit or permission, so that the commission could look at the environmental impacts before it gave that permission. And that's already in place as well. So they kind of piggyback each other.
Okay, and part of this, maybe I'm still kind of catching up, being, appointed and whatnot. No, that's not an excuse.
Oh, you're here for this one.
No, I know, but, when some of this stuff was being worked on.
We'll let that excuse go in there a couple months.
I just wanted to be sure, that it was in there for our usage and for benefit and protection of the county.
Yeah, and I think I didn't
As
understand.
long as you're comfortable that it's there,
It's
I'm
a
good
balance,
with it.
it's a balance with that delegation to the road superintendent to kind of give those permissions right now.
Okay.
So if
State
you
your
look
name, state your name for the minute.
at, Brian Pyle, Deputy District Attorney. If you look at what we've drafted for today's ordinance, just the first reading, it sort of defines what heavy use is, it defines, I tried to scope it like, basically personal use. If you're using our roads for personal use to get out somewhere to go hunting or do something, then this ordinance wouldn't be implicated, right? So to talk about the special use permit, I think there's a possibility that you could trigger the heavy use requirement of this road and require permission from the county to use this road for those purposes and not necessarily trigger the special use permitting, because the project that you're conducting or the travel that you're undertaking doesn't necessarily implicate a special use permit. They're both in place, it's kind of like we know it when we see it. So more than likely, big projects we're going to be putting in infrastructure are going to trigger both. But the way that they're separated out is there's a possibility that you could have a commercial purpose and use that road, right? That doesn't necessarily require you to get a special use permit.
Okay,
That was
if you guys are comfortable, I'm comfortable too.
Okay.
I have a
Go
question.
ahead.
Yeah.
So, we always have some sort of issue with these is, I know that Lifeline County's not gonna have a good district attorney's office and a good road manager like we have now for the next 100 years, and we're gonna get a turd in the punch bowl. So, what makes me get a little nervous is, occasional use, ranching's not it's not mentioned in there. I mean, you could go on with definitions, and I just worry that stuff like this someday, long in the future, could be used against somebody for political or, agenda reasons, and not so much to get at the core of what this is trying to do, which I completely agree with.
Okay.
So I don't know, I just wanna
Let's
spitball
change it.
I wanna spitball some ideas with see what the rest of y'all think, but that's
Yeah.
always where I have pause with these is, there might not be business friendly people in these positions for, we don't know what that, in the future, what that holds.
So there's a couple places that we can change it, and, there's also places where I'm sort of outside of my realm. We already defined what heavy equipment was way back in 1974, where this first passed. So either we can make it so those numbers don't implicate ranching concerns, I'm not sure if that's possible.
Yeah, most of the ranch vehicles probably fall under 76,000 pounds.
Well, I mean, you have a sheep herd or a water truck, or, I think there definitely needs to be a exclusion in this for ranching use. You can get a little 2-track powdered out, not nothing like what we see out in Newark Valley right now, but.
Well, also, if it's a what you don't want to do is you don't want to exclude certain classes of people, right? If it's a rancher out there who operates every year, they could have an agreement in place with us that says they're fully permitted to do that. It's just, you can see the section that talks about, like, let us know who you are, let us know what you're doing, let us know what your start and end date are, because that's information that we didn't have prior to all this stuff going down. And so I think a rancher can easily have all that stuff in place, an indefinite term, because the ranching, goes on as long as they have leases to do it, and be totally fine. It wouldn't be that big of a deal. It'd be one form on file with the road department or something. So I'm open to either.
This is the first reading, and there's gonna be some language changing and some input like Travis just put in there. So I'd kinda like to move on, but is Jared Vibey in here, or is he on the phone? Jared, are you on the phone?
I am on, yes.
Would you just